I let my friend take the blame for my crime after everything we'd been through together. Me and Jake had been working on my uncle's farm for like 8 years. We were 17 when we met, both broke and desperate for work. Uncle Bill hired us to fix fences and haul hay, and we ended up becoming actual friends. Not just work buddies, but like the type where you know everything about each other. Last summer, Uncle Bill told us the old storage barn needed to come down. Thing was falling apart. Termites everywhere. Roof sagging. He said to just burn it down like his dad used to do. No big deal, right? We'd done it before with smaller stuff. So one afternoon, Jake and I moved all the equipment out. Took us most of the day. We mowed around the barn, made sure nothing would catch. Standard procedure. Jake had to leave early for a dentist appointment or something, so I finished up alone. I grabbed the diesel can and started pouring it around the base. Didn't even think about permits or whatever. We're in the middle of nowhere on active farmland. Uncle Bill said it was fine. The thing went up fast. Like way faster than I expected. Flames were hitting 30 feet in minutes. Then Mrs. Kowalski from next door called the fire department. Said she saw someone deliberately setting the barn on fire. Guess she didn't know it was our barn. Cops showed up with the fire truck. They arrested me right there, handcuffs and everything. Said I committed arson, insurance fraud. I tried explaining, but they cut me off, read me my rights. Whole deal. At the station, they kept asking about insurance money. I didn't even know if the barn was insured. They wouldn't listen, just kept saying I was looking at serious time. Here's where it gets bad. They brought in Jake for questioning since we worked together. He'd been with me most of the day. During his interview, Jake said something like, "I was there when we decided to burn it down," and suddenly they're looking at him differently. The detective asked if Jake actually lit the fire. And Jake, being Jake, said, "Yeah, I helped pour the fuel," which wasn't even true. He'd left before I started. But they believed him. They charged Jake instead of me, dropped my charges completely. I should have said something right then. Should have told them Jake left early, that I did everything alone. But I didn't. I just didn't. Jake's lawyer was terrible. Public defender who barely knew the case. Meanwhile, Jake's telling me not to worry, that he'll explain everything in court and it'll be fine. Trial day comes. I'm sitting in the courtroom, not as a defendant anymore, just a witness. Prosecution goes first. They call Mrs. Kowalski. She testifies she saw 2 people working around the barn all day. Saw the fire start right after. She's sure it was arson for insurance money. They call me up. I'm sweating. The prosecutor asks if Jake and I planned to burn the barn. I say, Uncle Bill told us to. They ask if Jake lit the fire. I look at Jake sitting there at the defense table. He's looking right at me. We've been through everything together. He helped me when my mom was sick. I lived at his place for 3 months when things got bad at home. The prosecutor asks again, "Did Jake light the fire?" And I said, "No, Your Honor. Jake wasn't even there when—" The prosecutor cut me off. "When what? When you started the fire? Or when you planted the evidence?" He held up my work gloves. These were found in Jake's truck, covered in diesel and your DNA. Want to explain how they got there? I hadn't worn those gloves in weeks. Someone planted them. I looked at Jake and saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not confusion, not betrayal, but cold calculation. And that's when I understood I'd been set up by the one person I trusted most. The courtroom went silent. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Jake's public defender stood up. "Your Honor, I'd like to request a recess." The judge banged his gavel. 15 minutes. I sat frozen in the witness box while everyone filed out. The bailiff had to tap my shoulder twice before I moved. In the hallway, Jake's lawyer pulled me aside. What the hell just happened in there? His name tag said Jerome Mitchell. Looked about 50, exhausted. I don't know. Those gloves, I haven't seen them in weeks. I left them in the equipment shed. And Jake has access to that shed? Yeah, we both do. But why would he— Jerome cut me off. "Listen to me very carefully. Do not say another word to anyone. Not the prosecutor. Not Jake. Not your uncle. Nobody. You understand?" I nodded, but I was already pulling out my phone, texting Uncle Bill. "Need to talk now. Emergency." Uncle Bill showed up 20 minutes later, still in his work clothes, covered in mud from the south field. The judge extended the recess when Jerome explained the situation. We met in a conference room that smelled like stale coffee and desperation. Uncle Bill sat across from me, face red. "What's going on? They said something about planted evidence?" I explained everything. The gloves, Jake's strange testimony, the look in his eyes. Uncle Bill rubbed his face. "Son, I need to tell you something. About 3 weeks ago, Jake came to me asking about that barn." "What do you mean asking?" "He wanted to know if it was insured. Specifically, if it was insured for more than it was worth." I told him, yeah, we kept the policy from when the barn was in better shape. Still had it valued at $70,000 even though the thing was barely worth the lumber. My stomach dropped. "And you told Jake this?" "He said he was asking for you." Said you were worried about liability if it collapsed on someone during demolition. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. I never asked him that. I never even thought about the insurance. Uncle Bill's face went white. Oh God. The fire marshal asked me about insurance fraud. I told them it was routine to burn old structures, but if Jake knew about the policy, Jerome was already taking notes. This changes everything. The prosecution's theory was that you two planned insurance fraud together. But if Jake was working alone, if he set you up to take the fall initially, and then positioned himself to look like the noble friend who confessed, but why? My voice cracked. We've been friends for 8 years. Uncle Bill looked at me with something like pity. Son, 3 months ago, Jake asked me about buying into the farm, becoming a partner. I told him I was leaving everything to you in my will, your family. The pieces started clicking together. Jake knew he'd never own part of the farm. But if I went to prison for insurance fraud, if I was a convicted felon, maybe Uncle Bill would reconsider. Maybe Jake thought he could step in, be the responsible one, the trustworthy one. And the insurance money? $70,000 split with Uncle Bill after the investigation cleared, minus legal fees, would still be enough for Jake to make a down payment on his own place. Jerome was already on his phone. I'm calling the prosecutor. This is exculpatory evidence. They're obligated to— Wait, I grabbed his arm. If we tell them now, Jake walks free. It's his word against mine about the gloves, about the insurance questions. There's no proof. Kid, you were about to commit perjury to save him. Now you're worried about proof? I'm worried about him getting away with this. Uncle Bill stood up. No, we're doing this the right way. Jerome, make the call. The prosecutor was a woman named Lisa Vance, mid-40s, with the kind of sharp eyes that said she'd heard every lie twice. She listened to Uncle Bill's statement about Jake asking about insurance, listened to my story about the gloves. Then she said, here's the problem. None of this proves Jake planted evidence. He could argue he was doing due diligence about the burn. The gloves could have gotten in his truck innocently. And your testimony, the testimony of someone who just admitted they almost lied under oath to protect him, isn't exactly credible. So he just gets away with it? My hands were shaking. I didn't say that. I said we need more. She tapped her pen on the table. Jake's public defender is incompetent, but he's not stupid. He knows something just shifted. If we spook Jake, if he thinks we're onto him, he'll lawyer up properly and we'll never get the truth. Jerome leaned forward. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we resume testimony. Let Jake think he's still in control. See if he makes a mistake. Back in the courtroom, the judge asked if we were ready to proceed. Lisa Vance stood up. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to recall the defendant for cross-examination. Jake's face flickered, just for a second, but I saw it. Confusion, maybe fear. He took the stand. Lisa approached slowly. Mr. Brennan, you testified earlier that you helped pour the diesel fuel. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And you left before the fire was actually lit? Yes. I had a dentist appointment. What time was this appointment? 3 o'clock. And the fire was reported at what time? She looked at her notes. 4:15. That's over an hour later. What took so long? Jake shifted. I don't know. Maybe he waited, made sure everything was ready. Interesting. Because the fire marshal's report says the fire burned for at least 90 minutes before being reported, which means it was started around 2:45 before you left. Jake's lawyer objected. Speculation. The fire marshal didn't provide an exact start time. Sustained. Rephrase, Ms. Vance. Mr. Brennan, when exactly did you leave the property? Like I said, around 2:30. Had to drive 20 minutes to the dentist. Lisa smiled. It wasn't friendly. We subpoenaed your dentist's records. You didn't have an appointment that day. In fact, you canceled your appointment 3 days prior. Where were you really? The courtroom erupted. Jake's lawyer was on his feet. The judge banged his gavel, but I was watching Jake's face. The calculation was gone. Now it was just panic. I must have gotten the day mixed up. Or you never left at all. Lisa pulled out a folder. We also have cell tower records. Your phone pinged off the tower nearest the farm until 4:23 p.m. You were there when the fire started. You were there when the fire department arrived. And according to Mrs. Kowalski's revised statement taken this morning, she saw 2 people near the barn at 4 p.m., not 2:30. Jake's lawyer was whisper shouting at him. Jake ignored him. That's not— I went back. I forgot something. What did you forget? I don't remember. You don't remember what was important enough to drive back to a property where you'd just committed arson? Objection! Withdrawn. Lisa walked back to her table, pulled out an evidence bag. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to enter new evidence. A diesel can recovered from Jake Brennan's personal vehicle during a search conducted 2 hours ago. My brain was spinning. They'd searched his truck? When? The judge examined the evidence tag. This search was authorized? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Brennan consented when officers asked to check his vehicle during the recess. The can has his fingerprints. Only his fingerprints. Not the defendant's, whose gloves were supposedly used. Jake stood up. I want a lawyer. A real lawyer. The judge banged his gavel. Sit down, Mr. Brennan. You have a lawyer. He's trying to send me to prison. You did that to yourself, Jerome said quietly. Everything happened fast after that. The judge called another recess. Jake was taken into custody for evidence tampering. Lisa Vance offered him a deal: plead guilty to the full charges, testify about the setup, or face additional counts of fraud, evidence tampering, and witness intimidation. Jake took the deal. 2 days later, I was back in court, this time sitting next to Uncle Bill while Jake explained everything to the judge. He'd planned it for months. Found out Uncle Bill was leaving me the farm. Got angry. Thought it was unfair that I got everything just for being blood-related. Started asking about insurance, about controlled burns, about liability. Planted my gloves in his truck the day before the burn. Figured if he confessed to helping, took partial blame, he'd look noble. Thought I'd either take a plea deal or the prosecutor would get confused about who did what. Didn't expect the prosecutor to actually charge him instead of me. Panicked. Doubled down on the lie. The judge asked him why he targeted me specifically. Jake looked at me for the first time. Because it was easy. You trusted me. You would have done anything for me. And I used that. The judge sentenced him to 3 years. Restitution to Uncle Bill's insurance company. Permanent criminal record. Jake's parents were in the courtroom. His mom was crying. His dad just stared at him like he was looking at a stranger. I felt nothing. Just empty. After the sentencing, Uncle Bill put his hand on my shoulder. You okay? I almost lied for him. I was going to say he wasn't there. Was going to commit perjury. But you didn't. Only because I saw his eyes. Saw what he really was. Uncle Bill squeezed my shoulder. That's what matters. But it didn't feel like it mattered. It felt like I'd lost 8 years of friendship in one moment. Like everything we'd done together, every memory was contaminated now. I went back to work the next week. Same farm, same fields, same equipment shed where Jake had stolen my gloves. Mrs. Kowalski came over with a casserole apologizing for calling the fire department. I told her she did the right thing. Someone was committing arson. She was just wrong about who. The insurance paid out. Uncle Bill used it to rebuild a new equipment shed, modern and safe. Offered me a raise, I took it. But working the farm alone felt different, heavier. Every task Jake and I used to split, I did by myself. Every inside joke, every shortcut we'd developed, all of it was just ghosts now. 3 weeks after sentencing, I got a letter from the prison, Jake's handwriting. I didn't open it, just put it in a drawer. A month later, another letter, then another. Finally, I opened one. It was 6 pages long. Jake explaining, apologizing, trying to make me understand why he did it. Said he felt like an outsider. Said watching me inherit everything while he had nothing made him crazy. Said he was sorry. The last line said, I know I don't deserve it, but I hope someday you can forgive me. I burned the letter in the fire pit behind Uncle Bill's house. Watched the paper curl and blacken. Watched 8 years of friendship turn to ash. Uncle Bill found me there an hour later, still staring at the embers. You gonna be all right? I don't know. How do you get over something like this? He sat down on the bench next to me. You don't get over it. You get through it, day by day. Eventually it stops feeling like an open wound and starts feeling like an old scar. Something that happened. Something that shaped you, but not something that controls you anymore. He was my best friend. I know. And he tried to destroy my life for a farm and some insurance money. People do terrible things when they feel desperate. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean you have to forgive him. Just means you understand it happened and you move forward. I helped Uncle Bill with harvest that year by myself. Hired a few day laborers for the heavy work, but mostly it was just me. Long days starting before sunrise, ending after dark. Physical work that left me too tired to think. Jake's mom called me in October, asked if I'd visit him, said he was struggling in prison, said he asked about me. I said no. She started crying, told me Jake had always looked up to me, told me their family was falling apart. I said I was sorry, but I couldn't help her. Then I hung up. Uncle Bill asked me about it at dinner that night. His mom wants me to visit, says he's having a hard time. Are you going to? No. Uncle Bill nodded. That's your choice. No one gets to tell you how to handle this. Do you think I'm being cruel? I think you're protecting yourself. That's not cruel. That's smart. But I didn't feel smart. I felt like I was stuck. Like Jake had taken something from me I'd never get back. Not money or property or even freedom. He'd taken my ability to trust. Every time someone was nice to me, I wondered what they wanted. Every friendship felt conditional. Every relationship felt like it had an expiration date. Uncle Bill noticed. He didn't say anything, just started including me in more family stuff. Sunday dinners with his sister and her kids, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Slow, gentle reminders that not everyone was Jake. In February, Jake's lawyer called, said Jake was up for early release if he found employment and had a place to stay, asked if Uncle Bill would write a letter supporting release. Uncle Bill asked me first. It's your farm, your decision. You're part of this farm now. I want your input. I thought about it for 3 days. Finally said no. Uncle Bill wrote back saying he couldn't support release. The lawyer called again, angry. Said we were being vindictive. Said Jake had served his time. Uncle Bill told him Jake could serve the full sentence he'd earned. April brought Jake's dad to the farm. He showed up unannounced, driving a truck I recognized from when Jake and I used to work on it together. I need to talk to you, he said. We sat on the porch. He looked older than I remembered, tired. Jake's mother is sick, cancer. She wants to see him before. He trailed off. I'm sorry to hear that. Will you support early release for her? No, he's my son. He made a mistake. He tried to send me to prison, planted evidence, lied under oath. That's not a mistake. That's calculated. He was jealous, stupid, but he's still human. So am I. Jake's dad stared at me for a long time. You've gotten hard. Yeah, I wonder whose fault that is. He left without another word. Jake's mom died in June. The prison let him attend the funeral in shackles. I heard about it from Mrs. Kowalski, who heard about it from someone at church. I didn't go. Uncle Bill asked if I wanted to send flowers. I said no. That night I lay awake thinking about Jake sitting in a funeral home, handcuffed, watching them bury his mother. Wondered if he thought about me. Wondered if he regretted it. Decided I didn't care. July marked a year since the fire. Uncle Bill threw a small party, called it a fresh start celebration. Invited some neighbors, some family, a few people from church. I stood there making small talk, eating potato salad, pretending everything was normal. But I kept thinking about how this time last year, Jake and I were planning our weekend. Talking about maybe taking a camping trip before harvest got crazy. One of Uncle Bill's friends, an older guy named Porter, pulled me aside. Bill tells me you've been running the farm mostly solo. Yeah, it's been busy. I have a nephew about your age, good worker, looking for farm work. Want me to send him your way? My immediate reaction was no. Didn't want another Jake situation. Didn't want to train someone, trust someone, just to have it blow up again. But I said, sure, have him call. The nephew's name was Milo, 23. Just finished agriculture school. Eager but inexperienced. Nothing like Jake. I started him on simple stuff. Fence repair, equipment maintenance, kept him at arm's length. Friendly, but not friends. Milo didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he did and just accepted it. Either way, we developed a working relationship. Professional, efficient, empty. Uncle Bill called me out on it one evening. You treating that boy like a robot? He's doing his job. He's trying to connect. You won't let him. I let someone connect before. Look how that worked out. So you're going to punish every person who tries to be your friend for the rest of your life? I'm being smart. You're being scared. I walked away from that conversation, angry. But that night I couldn't stop thinking about it. Was Uncle Bill right? Was I letting Jake control my life even from prison? Next day I asked Milo if he wanted to grab lunch. Just us. No work talk. He looked surprised but said yes. We went to a diner in town, ordered burgers, sat in awkward silence for 5 minutes. Finally Milo said, "Did I do something wrong?" "What?" "No. You've been weird since I started. Like you're waiting for me to screw up." I didn't know what to say to that. Milo continued. "Bill told me about what happened. With Jake. I'm not him. I know. Do you? Because it feels like you've already decided I'm going to betray you." He was right. I had decided that. Decided everyone would eventually reveal themselves to be just like Jake. "I'm sorry. That's not fair to you." "No, it's not." Milo took a bite of his burger. "Look, I get it. Trust is hard after someone screws you over, but I'm not asking to be your best friend. I'm just asking you to treat me like a person." Something in my chest loosened. Just a little. Okay, fresh start? Fresh start. After that, things got easier. Not perfect. Not like it was with Jake before everything went bad, but functional, human. Milo turned out to be reliable. Showed up on time, did his work, didn't steal my gloves. In September, Jake was released. Served 18 months of his 3-year sentence. Good behavior. I found out from his dad, who came by the farm one last time. "He's out. Thought you should know." "Is he coming back here?" "No. He's moving to his cousin's place in Wisconsin. Getting away from everything." "Good." Jake's dad looked at me like he wanted to say something. Finally settled on, "I hope you find peace." "Yeah, you too." After he left, Uncle Bill asked if I was okay. He's really gone? According to his father, I expected to feel something. Relief, anger, something. But I just felt tired. That weekend, Milo invited me to a bonfire at his friend's place. I almost said no. Didn't want to deal with strangers asking questions about my life, but Uncle Bill was right. I was letting Jake control me, so I said yes. The bonfire was fine. Milo's friends were fine. Nobody asked about Jake. Nobody knew who I was or what had happened. One of them, a girl named Tessa, worked at the feed store in town. We talked for a while about nothing important. She was easy to talk to, didn't push, didn't pry. When I left that night, she asked if I'd want to get coffee sometime. I surprised myself by saying yes. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into regular texts. Tessa didn't ask about my past. When I eventually told her about Jake, she just listened. Didn't offer platitudes or advice. Just said, "That sounds really hard." It was exactly what I needed. By October, I realized I was happy, not ecstatic. Not like before when everything felt easy and safe, but content, present. The farm was doing well. Milo was turning into a solid worker. Tessa and I were taking things slow but steady. Then I got another letter from Jake, postmarked from Wisconsin. I almost threw it away, almost continued the pattern of ignoring him, but something made me open it. It was short this time, just 1 page. I know you probably won't read this. I know I don't deserve for you to read this, but I wanted to tell you I'm sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry for what I did. Sorry for using you. Sorry for hurting you. I was angry and jealous and stupid. I thought I deserved what you had. I was wrong. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you found a way to move on. I'm trying to. It's hard, but I'm trying. You don't have to respond. You don't have to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I know what I did was unforgivable, and I'm living with that every day. Take care of yourself. I read it twice, then put it back in the envelope, showed it to Uncle Bill that evening. He read it carefully, handed it back. What are you going to do? Nothing. He's right. It's unforgivable. Is it? You think I should forgive him? I think forgiveness is more about you than him. Carrying that anger around, it's heavy. Eventually, you might want to put it down. I'm not ready. Then don't. But keep the option open. For your sake, not his. I put the letter in a drawer. Didn't respond. Didn't burn it either. Life continued. Harvest was good. Better than expected. Uncle Bill threw another party. This one felt genuine. Tessa came with me. Met Uncle Bill, met Milo, met the whole crew. Fit right in. That night, sitting on the porch after everyone left, she asked about the letter. How do you know about the letter? Bill mentioned it. Said you seemed lighter after reading it, then heavier. It's complicated. Most things are. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, I said, he apologized. Jake said he knows what he did was unforgivable. What did you say back? Nothing. Haven't responded. Are you going to? I don't know. Part of me wants to tell him to go to hell. Part of me just wants to move on. Those aren't mutually exclusive. What do you mean? You can tell him to go to hell and still move on. Or you can say nothing and still move on. The moving on part is separate from the response part. She was right. I'd been conflating the two, thinking that forgiving Jake or responding to Jake was necessary for me to heal. But it wasn't. Healing was happening anyway. Slowly, imperfectly, but happening. 2 months later, Jake's dad died. Heart attack. Sudden. The funeral was on a Tuesday. I debated going. Decided it was the right thing to do. Jake was there, looked older, thinner, saw me walk in and froze. I nodded at him. He nodded back. That was it. At the reception, Jake approached me, hands in his pockets, eyes down. Thanks for coming. I'm sorry about your dad. He never stopped defending me, even after everything. That's what parents do. Awkward silence. Finally, Jake said, Did you get my letter? Yeah. And? And nothing. You said what you needed to say. I heard it. Can we ever? No, we can't. Jake looked like I'd hit him, but he nodded. I understand. I hope you figure your life out, Jake. I really do, but I can't be part of it. Okay. I left after that. Drove home feeling like I'd closed a door I'd been leaving open without realizing it. Tessa asked how it went. It was fine. Sad. Final. Final is good sometimes. Yeah, I think it is. Spring came again. The farm was green and alive. Milo was promoted to assistant manager. Tessa moved in with me. Uncle Bill started talking about retirement, making plans to officially transfer ownership to me, making it real, legal. One evening we were sitting on the porch watching the sunset and he said, You know I'm proud of you. For what? For getting through it. For not letting it break you. There were times I thought it would. I know, but it didn't. That's what matters. We sat in comfortable silence, the kind that comes from years of working together, trusting each other. Do you ever think about him? Uncle Bill asked. Sometimes. Less than I used to. Do you hate him? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I don't hate him. I don't forgive him either. I just don't think about him much anymore. That's probably the healthiest place to be. Yeah, probably. The sun disappeared behind the hills. The farm was quiet except for the crickets and the distant sound of cows settling for the night. I realized I was content. Not because everything was perfect, not because the betrayal didn't happen, but because I'd survived it, built something new, found people worth trusting again. Jake had tried to destroy my life for jealousy and money. He'd failed. Not because I was stronger or smarter or better, but because life kept moving forward whether he was in it or not. The farm would be mine. The life I built would be mine. The trust I gave people would be mine to give. And Jake would just be a story. Something that happened. Something that shaped me, but not something that controlled me anymore. Uncle Bill stood up, stretched. I'm heading to bed. Got an early morning. Yeah, me too. He paused at the door. You're going to do good things with this place. Better than I ever did. Don't sell yourself short. I'm not. I'm just saying you're going to be fine. Better than fine. After he went inside, I stayed on the porch for another hour, thinking about everything that had happened, everything that hadn't. My phone buzzed. Text from Tessa. You good? Yeah, really good actually. Love you. Love you too. I went inside, locked the door, got ready for bed. Tomorrow would be another long day. Fences to fix, hay to haul, the same work I'd been doing since I was 17. But this time I wasn't doing it with someone who saw me as a stepping stone. I was doing it with people who saw me as family. And that made all the difference. Years later, I heard Jake was doing okay, working at a hardware store in Wisconsin, living a quiet life, never reached out again. I never reached out either. Some doors stay closed. Some friendships don't survive betrayal. And that's okay, because the farm is still here. Uncle Bill officially retired last year. The deed has my name on it now. Milo runs the day-to-day operations. He's engaged to someone he met at the farmer's market. Good person. We're having the wedding here on the farm next summer. Tessa and I got married 2 years ago. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. She's pregnant now, due in October. We're converting the old equipment shed into a nursery. The new shed Uncle Bill built after the fire. Sometimes I drive past where the old barn used to be. The insurance barn. The one that started everything. There's just empty field there now. We use it for rotating pasture. No ghosts, no memories, just grass and cows and open sky. That's the thing about betrayal. It feels permanent when it's happening, feels like it will define you forever. But time has a way of dulling sharp edges, of turning wounds into scars, of making room for new things. Jake tried to steal my future, tried to take everything I had coming, but he couldn't. Because futures aren't something you can steal with diesel and planted evidence. They're something you build, day by day, choice by choice, person by person. And I built mine without him. The baby kicks and Tessa laughs, grabbing my hand to feel. We're going to name him Bill, after my uncle. The man who gave me a chance when I had nothing. The man who taught me what real family looks like. Not blood, not history, just showing up, day after day, year after year. That's what Jake never understood. He thought family was about deserving, about earning your place. But family is about choosing, about staying, about building something together that lasts longer than jealousy or anger or betrayal. The farm is quiet tonight. Tessa is asleep. The baby is moving. Tomorrow I have to fix the fence in the north pasture. Milo is taking a few days off for his bachelor party. It's all normal, all fine, all exactly what I never thought I'd have after that day in court when I realized my best friend had set me up. But I have it. And Jake has whatever life he built in Wisconsin. I hope it's a good one. I really do. Not for him, for me. Because hoping he's miserable would mean I'm still carrying him around, still letting him take up space in my head. And I'm done with that. The farm is mine. The life is mine. The future is mine. Jake is just someone I used to know, and that's exactly how it should be. The months after sentencing were harder than I expected. Not because I missed Jake. I didn't. But because the absence of him left this weird void in my daily routine. 8 years of working alongside someone, even someone who betrayed you, creates patterns, muscle memory, automatic behaviors you don't notice until they're gone. I'd reach for my phone to text him about something funny that happened, stop myself halfway through typing, delete it, feel stupid. Or I'd be working on a fence and position myself to hold one side while Jake held the other, forgetting there was no Jake anymore, just me and empty air and the reminder that I was alone. Uncle Bill hired temp workers during busy season. They were fine, professional, did their jobs, but they weren't Jake. They didn't know that the tractor made a weird sound at exactly 2,500 RPMs, didn't know which tools were which in the shed, didn't know the shortcut through the back property that saved 20 minutes. All the little things Jake and I had learned together over 8 years, gone. I found myself getting irritated at the temps for not knowing things they had no way of knowing, snapping at them for doing things differently than how Jake and I used to do them. Even though Jake and I's way wasn't necessarily better, it was just familiar. Uncle Bill pulled me aside one afternoon in August. "You're being an ass." "What?" "To the workers. You're treating them like idiots because they're not Jake." "I'm not." "Yes, you are. Miguel asked me yesterday if he was about to get fired because you keep sighing at him like he's killing your dog." I rubbed my face. He was right. I'll apologize. Do better than apologize. Figure out why you're doing it. I knew why. Because being angry at the temps was easier than admitting I missed Jake. Not the Jake who planted evidence and lied under oath, but the Jake from before that. The friend who knew me. Who I didn't have to explain things to. That version of Jake never really existed, though. Or maybe he did and changed. Or maybe he was always planning this and I was too stupid to see it. Either way, that Jake was gone. If he ever existed at all. I apologized to Miguel and the other temps. Tried to be better. More patient. More present. It helped. A little. But the loneliness didn't go away. Tessa noticed. We'd been dating for about 4 months at that point. Long enough that she felt comfortable calling me out. "You need friends." "I have friends." "No, you have Uncle Bill, who's your boss and basically your dad. You have Milo, who's your employee. And you have me, who's your girlfriend. You need actual friends. People your own age who you just hang out with." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You work 70 hours a week, then come home and watch TV alone. That's not fine. What do you want me to do? Join a book club? Maybe. Or literally anything social. When's the last time you did something just for fun?" I couldn't remember. Tessa pulled out her phone, started scrolling. "There's a softball league. Starts next month. Recreational, so no one takes it too seriously." "I don't play softball." "So? It's just for fun. Meet some people. Get out of your head." I almost said no. The idea of being around strangers, making small talk, pretending to be normal, it felt exhausting. But Tessa had that look. The one that said she was right, and I knew it. "Fine, I'll check it out." The softball league was exactly what you'd expect. Bunch of people in their 20s and 30s drinking beer and barely remembering how baseball works. I was terrible, like embarrassingly bad. But so was everyone else, so it didn't matter. The team captain was a guy named Lee who worked in IT somewhere. He was aggressively friendly in that way that made you tired just talking to him, but he was harmless. Introduced me to everyone. Didn't ask about my life, just focused on making sure everyone had fun. After the first game, we went to a bar. I nursed a beer and listened to everyone talk. Lee's girlfriend drama, someone's car troubles, some argument about whether hot dogs were sandwiches. It was boring, normal, exactly what I needed. I went back the next week, and the week after that, started getting to know people. Not deep friendships, not like Jake, just casual connections. People who knew my first name and what position I played and nothing else. It was enough. By September, I was sleeping better. Not great, but better. The nightmares about the trial were less frequent. The constant mental replay of Jake's face when I realized he'd set me up, that was fading too. Uncle Bill noticed, commented that I seemed lighter. Tessa got me to join a softball league. That girl's smart. Yeah, she is. You thinking long-term with her? Maybe. Too early to say. Don't wait too long to figure it out. Good ones don't wait around forever. I knew he was right. Tessa was good. Patient with my mess. Didn't push, but didn't let me hide either. She deserved someone who was all in, not someone still processing betrayal. I needed to get my head straight. Actually deal with what happened instead of just trying to pretend it didn't affect me. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called a therapist. Her name was Dr. Reeves. Mid-50s. Office that smelled like lavender. One of those white noise machines in the corner. She asked what brought me in. I told her the whole story. The fire, the trial, Jake's setup, the sentencing, all of it. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked one question. What do you want to get out of therapy? I want to stop being angry all the time. I want to trust people again. I want to feel like myself again. Who is yourself? I don't know. Not this version. The version from before Jake screwed me over. What if that version is gone? What if you can't go back? The question hit me harder than expected. Then what? I just stay like this forever? No. You become a new version. Someone shaped by what happened, but not controlled by it. We met every other week. Talked through the betrayal. Talked through my trust issues. Talked through the anger and the loneliness and all the messy, complicated feelings I'd been shoving down for months. Dr. Reeves didn't have easy answers. Didn't tell me to forgive Jake or move on or any of that surface-level advice. She just helped me process, understand, make space for all of it without drowning in it. It helped. Slowly, but it helped. By October, I was genuinely better. Not perfect. Still had moments where I spiraled. Still checked my truck for planted evidence, sometimes even though that was irrational. Still had dreams about the courtroom, but the good days outnumbered the bad days, and the bad days were getting less bad. Tessa met my therapy schedule without comment. Never asked what I talked about. Just made sure I went, made sure I took care of myself. One night in late October, we were at her place. She was making dinner, I was setting the table. Normal domestic stuff. "I love you," she said, just like that. Casual. While stirring pasta, I stopped, put down the forks. "What?" "I love you. I probably have for a while. Thought you should know." My brain short-circuited. Part of me wanted to say it back immediately. Part of me was terrified. What if I was wrong about her? What if she was just better at hiding who she really was than Jake had been? But that was the trauma talking, not reality. "I love you too," she smiled. Went back to stirring pasta. "Good. Now finish setting the table. Food's almost ready." That was it. No big moment, no dramatic declaration, just two people being honest with each other over weeknight spaghetti. It felt right. Jake sent another letter in November. I recognized the handwriting. Wisconsin postmark. Felt heavier than the last one. I sat on it for 3 days before opening it. Tessa didn't ask about it. Just let me process in my own time. When I finally opened it, it wasn't what I expected. Jake wasn't apologizing again. He was updating me. His mom's cancer was getting worse. She had maybe 6 months. He'd been denied early release for the funeral, which meant he'd likely still be in prison when she died. His dad was falling apart. The family was a mess. And Jake was writing to me about it. Not asking for anything. Not begging for forgiveness. Just telling me because I was the only person who'd known his family, who'd been to their house for holidays, who understood what losing his mom would mean. The letter ended with, "I know I don't deserve your sympathy. I know you have every right to be glad I'm suffering, but I wanted you to know. My mom always liked you, said you were good for me. She was right. I'm sorry I couldn't be good for you too." I read it 3 times, then showed it to Tessa. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. His mom was always nice to me, treated me like family. But that doesn't obligate you to do anything." "I know, but you feel obligated anyway." "Yeah." Tessa sat next to me. "What does your gut say?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. My gut says his mom doesn't deserve to die without seeing her son. Whatever Jake did, that's not her fault. So write a letter supporting early release. I can't do that. Why not? Because what if he comes back here? What if he tries to contact me? What if he just visits his dying mom and leaves you alone? You can set boundaries. Support his release without opening the door to a relationship. She was right. I knew she was right. I spent the next 2 days drafting a letter to Jake's parole board. Kept it factual. Explained that Jake's mother was terminally ill. That denying him the chance to say goodbye served no rehabilitative purpose. That I supported temporary release under supervision for family medical emergency. Never said I forgave him. Never said we were friends. Just said his mom deserved to see her son before she died. Sent it off before I could overthink it. 3 weeks later, Jake was granted temporary release. 5 days supervised visit with his mom. Had to wear ankle monitor. Had to report to local parole officer daily. His dad called to thank me. I told him not to. Told him this wasn't about Jake. It was about his mom. Still, you didn't have to do it. Thank you. After I hung up, Tessa hugged me. "You're a good person." "I don't feel like a good person. I feel like an idiot." "Why?" "Because what if I'm making a mistake? What if he uses this to worm his way back into my life?" "Then you set boundaries and stick to them. But you're not making a mistake. You're being human." Jake's mom died 4 days into his visit. His dad called to let me know. Said Jake was there. Said she got to see him one last time. Said it meant everything. I said I was sorry for their loss and hung up. Didn't go to the funeral. Drew that line firmly. This was about giving a dying woman peace, not about reconciling with Jake. Jake sent one final letter after he went back to prison. Just 2 sentences. "Thank you for giving me the chance to say goodbye. I won't bother you again." And he didn't. Life moved forward. The farm, the softball league, therapy, Tessa. Uncle Bill started teaching me the business side of farming. The accounting, the planning, the contracts with suppliers, all the boring paperwork stuff Jake and I used to ignore. "If you're going to run this place someday, you need to know more than just how to fix a fence. I thought you were years away from retiring. I'm 67. I'm tired. You're ready. Let's make it official." We started the transfer process in December. Lawyers, paperwork, tax stuff I didn't understand but signed anyway because Uncle Bill's accountant walked me through it. By January, the farm was legally mine. Uncle Bill still worked part-time, more as a consultant than actual labor, but the responsibility, the decisions, all of it fell to me now. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Milo stepped up, took on more leadership, trained the new seasonal hires, handled day-to-day operations so I could focus on the bigger picture. We worked well together. Nothing like Jake and me. More professional, more structured. But it worked. In February, Tessa moved in. Not into Uncle Bill's house where I'd been staying, but into a rental property on the edge of town. Small place, just 2 bedrooms, but it was ours. We painted the walls, picked out furniture together. Had our first fight about whether the couch should go against the wall or face the window. Normal couple stuff. It felt like building something real, something that would last. Spring came. First spring where the farm was fully mine. I walked the property one morning alone, taking it all in. The fields ready for planting. The equipment shed where Jake had stolen my gloves. The spot where the old barn used to stand. All of it was mine now, for real. I called Uncle Bill from the South Field. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, just walking the property, thinking. Having second thoughts? No, opposite actually. Feeling grateful. Good. You earned this." "Did I though?" Jake was right. I got this because I'm family, not because I deserved it more than him. Jake was wrong about a lot of things. That included, you got this because you showed up every day for 8 years, because you cared about the land and the work, because I trust you. That's not luck. That's character. Thanks, Bill. Stop being sentimental and get back to work. We have fence to repair in the north pasture. I laughed, hung up, went back to work. That afternoon, while fixing fence, Milo asked me something I'd been avoiding thinking about. "You gonna hire someone to replace me when I move up?" "What do you mean, move up?" "I'm not going to be your assistant forever. Eventually, I'll want to run my own operation, or at least have more responsibility here." He was right. I'd been treating him like Jake's replacement instead of his own person with his own goals. "What do you want?" "Honestly, I want a partnership. Not now, but eventually. I want to build something here, not just work for someone else. Let me think about it. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere soon, just wanted to put it out there." That night, I talked it through with Tessa. A partnership is a big deal. Legally complicated. What if it goes bad? What if it goes well? Milo's good, reliable. You trust him. I trusted Jake. Milo isn't Jake. You can't let one betrayal stop you from ever taking a risk again. She was right. Again. She was annoyingly right about things. Over the next few months, Milo and I worked out a plan. He'd continue as assistant manager for 2 more years. Prove himself. Save money. Then we'd revisit the partnership conversation with lawyers and contracts and everything official. It felt right. Fair. Like I was building something that could outlast me. The softball season started up again. Same team. Same bar after games. Lee introduced his new girlfriend. Someone's car was still broken. The hot dog sandwich debate continued. I'd become friends with a few of them. Real friends. Not deep like Jake had been, but genuine. People I could text about nothing. People who invited me to barbecues and game nights. It wasn't the friendship I'd lost. It was different. Maybe better. Definitely healthier. One of them, a guy named Curtis, worked in insurance. We got to talking one night about the barn fire. He listened to the whole story. "Man, that's rough. Your friend really screwed you." "Yeah. You ever wonder what you could have done differently?" "All the time. But I don't know. How do you protect yourself from someone you trust completely?" "You can't. That's the point of trust. It requires vulnerability, risk. Otherwise, it's not really trust. So I'm just supposed to trust people and hope they don't screw me?" "Pretty much. Or you spend your whole life alone. Those are kind of the options." It was a depressing truth, but he was right. Trusting people meant accepting the possibility of betrayal. There was no perfect system, no foolproof method. Just choose carefully and hope for the best. I'd chosen carefully with Jake, been wrong, paid the price. But I'd also chosen carefully with Uncle Bill, with Milo, with Tessa, been right, reaped the benefits. Maybe the point wasn't to never be wrong. Maybe it was to keep choosing, keep trying, keep building relationships despite the risk. By summer, I'd stopped checking the truck for planted evidence, stopped having nightmares about the courtroom, stopped immediately assuming the worst about people. The therapy helped. Dr. Reeves and I worked through my trust issues, my tendency to isolate, my fear of vulnerability. She never told me to forgive Jake, never pushed me towards some Hollywood ending where we reconciled and were friends again. She just helped me make peace with what happened, accept it as part of my story without letting it be the whole story. In July, Tessa and I got engaged. Nothing fancy. I proposed on the porch of the farmhouse, the same porch where Uncle Bill and I had talked through everything, where I'd decided to stop letting Jake control my life. She said yes. We set a date for next spring, small wedding, just family and close friends. No drama, no big production, just 2 people choosing each other. Uncle Bill cried when I told him. Actual tears. Said he'd known Tessa was the one from day one. Said he was proud of how far I'd come. From broke 17-year-old kid to owning a farm and getting married, not bad. None of it would have happened without you. Sure it would. You would have figured it out. I just gave you a head start. The wedding planning was actually fun. Tessa wasn't one of those bridezilla types. She cared more about the marriage than the wedding. Picked a venue, picked a dress, sent out invitations. Done. We decided to have it on the farm, in the south field where wildflowers grew in spring. It felt right. Starting our marriage on the land that had given me everything. Milo offered to help set up. His fiancée, Rachel, offered to handle decorations. The whole thing came together easier than expected. The only awkward part was the guest list. Tessa asked if I wanted to invite Jake. Absolutely not. I figured. Just checking. Would have been weird if he showed up anyway. He's still in prison. Doesn't get out until next year. Right. Forgot about that. I hadn't forgotten. I knew exactly when Jake's sentence ended. March 15th. The date was burned into my brain even though I tried not to think about it. What would happen when he got out? Would he try to contact me? Move back to town? Stay in Wisconsin? I didn't want to care, but I did. Dr. Reeves and I talked about it in therapy. Why does his release date bother you? Because right now he's in prison. Contained. Out of my life. But when he gets out, he'll be free. He could show up at the farm. Could try to apologize again. Could complicate everything. And if he does, I don't know. What would you say to him? I don't want to say anything to him. I want him to leave me alone. Have you communicated that boundary to him? I hadn't. After his mom died, Jake said he wouldn't bother me again. But that was before his release. What if he changed his mind? Dr. Reeves suggested I write him one final letter. Clear, direct, establishing boundaries. I fought her on it. Didn't want to reopen communication. Didn't want to give him any opening. But she was right. Setting clear boundaries was better than hoping he'd respect implied ones. So I wrote the letter. Kept it short. Told him I was glad he'd gotten to see his mom before she died. Told him I hoped he built a good life for himself. Told him we were done. No contact. No relationship. Not now. Not ever. Sent it off and immediately regretted it. What if he took it as an invitation to respond? What if I'd just made things worse? But he never responded. Never reached out. Kept his word. March 15th came and went. Jake was released. Moved back to Wisconsin. According to his dad, who still sent Christmas cards to Uncle Bill, Jake was working construction, living alone, keeping his head down. I was relieved, and surprised at how relieved I was. The wedding happened in April. Beautiful day. Sunny. Wildflowers everywhere. Tessa was stunning. I cried when I saw her walking toward me through the field. Uncle Bill officiated. Applied for whatever online certification thing let him do that. He kept it simple. Talked about commitment and partnership and building something that lasts. All the softball people came. Milo and Rachel. Dr. Reeves even came, which felt weird but also nice. All the people who'd helped me rebuild my life after Jake tore it down. During the vows, Tessa said something that stuck with me. I choose you, not because you're perfect, not because you have it all figured out, but because even when things got hard, even when you were broken, you kept trying. You kept choosing to be better, and I want to spend my life choosing you. I barely got through my vows without breaking down. Promised to keep choosing her too. Promised to be worthy of her trust. Promised to build a life together that neither of us would regret. We honeymooned in Colorado, 2 weeks of hiking and not thinking about the farm. Milo ran things while we were gone. Did a great job. Proved he could handle more responsibility. When we got back, Uncle Bill had a surprise. He'd started building a house on the west section of the property. A real house. For me and Tessa. Big enough to start a family if we wanted. Close enough to the farmhouse that he could still help out. Far enough that we'd have privacy. You're going to need your own space. Can't live in town forever when you're running a farm. The house was finished by fall. We moved in on Tessa's birthday. She cried. Happy tears. Said it was more than she'd ever imagined. That night, sitting on our own porch, looking out at our own land, Tessa asked me something I'd been avoiding. Do you still think about him? Jake? Sometimes. Less than I used to. Do you hate him? No. I don't think I ever really hated him. I was hurt, angry, betrayed. But hate? That takes energy I don't want to spend on him. Think you'll ever forgive him? I don't know. Does it matter? Maybe not, as long as you're at peace with it. I think I am. Not the way people mean when they talk about forgiveness and closure. I didn't forget what he did. I didn't decide it was okay. I just stopped letting it run my life. Good. That's all you can do. We sat in silence. The farm was quiet, peaceful, ours. This was what Jake had wanted and couldn't have. Not the physical property, but the sense of belonging, of being chosen, of building something with someone who chose you back. He'd tried to take it from me. Failed. and in failing, lost everything he had. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. But mostly I just felt grateful. For Uncle Bill, for Tessa, for Milo, for everyone who'd chosen to be in my life even after seeing me at my worst. The farm grew. We expanded operations, bought 2 adjacent properties when they went up for sale, hired more full-time staff. Milo became a full partner like we'd discussed. Everything was documented, legal, protected. Tessa got pregnant a year after we moved into the house. We found out on Thanksgiving, told Uncle Bill over pie. He cried again, said he always wanted to be a grandpa. The pregnancy was smooth, no complications. We turned the spare bedroom into a nursery. Tessa had specific ideas about colors and themes. I built the crib myself. Probably not to code, but it was sturdy. William Tessa named him, but everyone called him Bill, after Uncle Bill. The man who'd changed my life by giving me a chance when I was 17 and desperate. Uncle Bill held his namesake for the first time and just stared. He looks like you did, when you first showed up here. He's prettier. Nah, same stubborn look. Bill was a good baby. Slept okay, ate fine, grew fast. Tessa was a natural. I was terrified constantly, but figured it out as I went. Parenthood was like farming in that way. Learn by doing. Mess up sometimes. Fix it and move on. The farm ran smoothly. Milo handled most operations. I focused on business development and long-term planning. We were profitable, growing, building something that would last past us. Bill turned 1, then 2, started talking, running around, getting into everything. The farm was a giant playground for him. Animals to chase, equipment to climb on, fields to explore. Uncle Bill followed him everywhere, making sure he didn't hurt himself, narrating everything. That's a tractor. That's hay. Those are cows. Don't pull the cow's tail, buddy. Watching them together, I realized this was what family was supposed to look like. Not Jake's version where love was conditional and could be traded for land and money. But this, messy and unconditional and chosen. Bill would grow up on this farm, would learn to work the land like I did, would have Uncle Bill and Milo and Tessa and me teaching him, would build his own relationships and trust his own instincts and hopefully, choose better than Jake chose. Because that was the thing Jake never understood. It wasn't about deserving. It wasn't about blood or years or loyalty points you racked up. It was about choosing, every day, to show up, to be honest, to build something real. Jake chose to betray me for money and jealousy. I chose to rebuild. Uncle Bill chose to give me the farm. Tessa chose to love me through the mess. Milo chose to partner with me. Everyone who mattered made their choice, and I made mine. To move forward, to trust again, to build a life so full of good choices that Jake's bad one became just a footnote. I still saw his dad sometimes, around town. He always nodded. I nodded back, cordial, distant. His wife's death had aged him. Jake being in prison had aged him more. Last I heard, Jake was still in Wisconsin, working construction, living alone. His dad visited once or twice a year. Said Jake seemed stable, quiet, different. I never asked for details, didn't care to know. Bill started preschool, made friends, had play dates, normal kid stuff. We hosted birthday parties at the farm, hay rides and petting zoos and cake. The house filled with noise and laughter and life. Tessa got pregnant again, twins this time, girls. We named them after Tessa's grandmothers. Uncle Bill joked that we were trying to populate our own workforce. Gotta raise the next generation of farmers. Maybe they'll want to do something else. Then we raised them right, gave them options. The twins were harder than Bill. 2 babies, 2 of everything. Double the diapers, double the feedings, double the chaos. But also, double the joy. The farm kept growing. Milo's wife, Rachel, started handling our social media. Turned out people loved farm content. We gained followers. Started doing farm-to-table partnerships with restaurants. Opened a small farm stand on weekends. It was more than I'd ever imagined when I was 17, fixing fences for minimum wage, thinking I'd never amount to anything. Uncle Bill officially retired on his 75th birthday. Threw himself a party. Everyone came. He gave a speech thanking everyone who'd made the farm what it was. Thanked me specifically for taking care of his life's work. I built this place with my hands, but you gave it a future. You gave it heart. I'm proud of you, son. Son. He'd been calling me that for years, but it hit different that day, because I realized he meant it. I wasn't just the nephew he helped out. I was his son in every way that mattered. Bill graduated elementary school. The twins started kindergarten. Time moved faster than I could track. One day I was 25 and broken. Next thing I knew, I was 35 with 3 kids and a thriving farm and a life I'd built from nothing. Jake turned 40 in prison. No, wait. Jake got out at 31. He'd be 39 now, living in Wisconsin, working construction, probably no kids, probably no partner. Just whatever life he scraped together after destroying the life he had. I tried not to think about it. Mostly succeeded. But sometimes, late at night when the kids were asleep and Tessa was reading and the house was quiet, I'd wonder, what was Jake thinking about? Did he regret it? Did he think about me? Did he ever drive by the farm when he visited his dad? Not that it mattered. His life was his. Mine was mine. They didn't intersect anymore. Bill expressed interest in farming, wanted to work with the animals. Milo started teaching him basic stuff. How to feed chickens, how to collect eggs, how to be gentle with livestock. The twins wanted nothing to do with farming. They liked art and reading and staying clean. That was fine. They'd find their own paths. Tessa and I celebrated 10 years of marriage. We went back to Colorado. Same trails we'd hiked on our honeymoon. We were older, more tired, had more responsibilities, but also more secure, more sure of each other. Would you change anything? She asked one night. About what? Us. The farm. All of it. The Jake thing, maybe. That sucked. But if it didn't happen, would you be who you are now? I thought about it. Probably not. I'd probably still be that naive kid who trusted everyone and assumed the best. And that would be bad. It would be vulnerable. You're still vulnerable. You just choose who to be vulnerable with now. She was right. Jake hadn't made me hard or closed off. He'd made me careful, selective, protective of what I built. That wasn't a bad thing. Uncle Bill's health started declining when he hit 80. Nothing dramatic. Just the slow, inevitable slide of aging. Moved slower, forgot things sometimes, needed more help. We moved him into our house. The farmhouse sat empty except for seasonal workers who needed temporary housing. Uncle Bill's room was on the first floor, close to everything. We hired a part-time nurse to check on him during the day while we worked. He hated it. Hated needing help. Hated being a burden. We told him he wasn't a burden. Told him family takes care of each other. He grumbled, but accepted it. Bill, now 12, spent hours with Uncle Bill, playing cards, watching old westerns, listening to stories about the farm's history. Uncle Bill told him everything. How he'd bought the land with money from his father, how he'd built the original farmhouse himself, how he'd met me when I was 17 and desperate. Your dad was the hardest worker I ever met. Still is. You make sure you learn from him. I will, Grandpa. Grandpa. Uncle Bill smiled every time Bill called him that. The twins turned 10, started middle school, developed their own interests and personalities. We were outnumbered now. 3 kids with strong opinions about everything. But it was good chaos. The kind you choose. The kind that means you're building something real. Milo's kids started working the farm in summer. Next generation training. The cycle continued. I realized one day that I'd spent more of my life after Jake's betrayal than before it. The math worked out. 8 years with Jake as my friend. 16 years since the trial. Everything after was twice as long as everything before. Betrayal used to feel like this defining moment. This before and after split in my life. But now it was just one thing that happened. Important, sure. Painful, definitely. But not the whole story. The whole story was Uncle Bill taking a chance on me. Was building a farm from the ground up. Was meeting Tessa. Was raising kids. Was creating something that would outlast all of us. Jake was a chapter. Not even the main one. Just something that happened along the way. Uncle Bill passed away quietly one night in his sleep. 92 years old. Lived a full life. Died surrounded by family. We found him in the morning. Peaceful. Like he was just sleeping. The funeral was huge. He'd touched so many lives. Helped so many people. We buried him in the small cemetery on the property. Next to his father and his brother. Where he'd wanted to be. Bill gave the eulogy. My son, not Uncle Bill, talked about how great-grandpa Bill taught him everything about farming and family. How he showed him what it meant to choose people. To build something that lasts. I couldn't stop crying. Lost it completely. Tessa held my hand through the whole thing. Afterward, people came up to share stories. How Uncle Bill had helped them when they needed work. How he'd covered their rent when they were short. How he'd showed up to their kids' graduation even though he barely knew them. He'd built a legacy not just in land and property, but in people, in relationships, in choosing to show up for others even when he didn't have to. That night I walked the property alone. The fields, the barns, the house where Uncle Bill had lived. Everything was mine now, really, truly mine. No more partial ownership or transition period, just mine. And I realized I didn't want it to be just mine. I wanted it to be ours, Milo's, Bill's, the twins, everyone who'd chosen this place, this life, so I made it official. restructured everything legally, made Milo a full 50% partner, set up trusts for the kids, established a foundation in Uncle Bill's name to help young people who needed work and a chance like I did. The farm wasn't just a business anymore. It was a legacy, a family, a place where people could build futures. Jake's dad called after the funeral, said he was sorry for our loss, said Uncle Bill was a good man, said Jake always spoke highly of him. I thanked him for calling and hung up. Didn't ask about Jake. Didn't want to know. Life moved forward. Bill took over more responsibilities. The twins focused on school. Tessa ran the business side. Milo managed operations. I focused on the foundation and long-term vision. We helped 27 young people that first year, gave them work, housing, training, a path forward like Uncle Bill had given me. Some stayed long-term. Some moved on after a few years. That was fine. The point wasn't to keep them forever, just to give them a shot. One of them, a kid named Emmett, reminded me of myself at 17, broke, desperate, willing to work but didn't know where to start. I hired him immediately, put him under Milo's supervision, watched him grow and learn and find his footing. It felt like closing a circle. Uncle Bill had helped me. Now I was helping Emmett. Emmett would probably help someone someday. The cycle would continue. That's what legacy really meant. Not property or money, but patterns, behaviors, choices that echo forward through generations. Jake had tried to take my legacy, tried to steal my future, but he couldn't. Because legacy isn't something you can steal with diesel and planted evidence. It's something you build, day by day, choice by choice, person by person. And I built mine. The farm is still here, growing, thriving, employing dozens of people, feeding thousands, providing opportunities for kids like I was. Tessa and I are still together, still choosing each other every day, still building this life we started in that small rental with the couch debate. Bill is 20 now, running day-to-day operations with Milo, learning the business side from Tessa. He'll take over someday, continue what Uncle Bill started, what I continued, what he'll pass on to his kids. The twins are 18, both got into college. One wants to be an architect, one wants to teach. Neither wants to farm. That's fine. They'll carry the lessons forward in their own ways. The foundation has helped over 300 people now. Some came back to visit. Some sent thank you notes. Some disappeared into their new lives. All of them got a chance. That's what matters. I'm 50 years old now, half a century. Weird to think about. I've been working this land for 33 years, more than half my life. Jake would be 52, probably still in Wisconsin, still working construction, still living whatever life he built after prison.